I am Doomsvince, and this is day 122 of Spawn Year.
So far, Brian Hogwin's influence seems to have tempered the pacing of this series, but not the infuriating, inconsistent, and directionless plotting. Sometimes I really think McFarlane sincerely believes that readers want to be strung along for months and months until a writer finally and arbitrarily gives them an explanation for why something is in the book that seems to defy all logic. No natural build-up, no organic payoff, just why, oh, that's why. This series continues to highlight its own oversights and lack of forethought by having characters comment on it. We've spent a good long time with Sam and Twitch trying to shed some light on who and what Spawn is. They've learned Bupkis except for what Cog has told them, and they can't even find Spawn. So Cog, as disappointed and bored of waiting around for them as we are, melodramatically waits for them in the shadows in their office, and when they arrive, he says, "I hoped you two would have worked most of it out on your own. As you haven't, I'm leaving you a little present." So he gives them what else? A file folder. I guess all Hellspawns, past and present, love solving problems with manila envelopes. Is there some reason behind making the human characters who should be our eyes while traversing this strange land of confusing mythology and theology such putzes? Here's an idea. Why not let these people further the story by uncovering all the secrets of your mythos for you, instead of letting the plot randomly dictate when people learn or even accomplish things? This is exactly the same thing as investigating banks for 24 issues and dropping the proof Sam and Twitch needed on their laps with some never-before-mentioned disgruntled cop with keys to a file cabinet. I wouldn't be surprised if all the answers to Spawn's prophecy and how he fits into Armageddon wasn't all in a file cabinet somewhere too. If this series had an end, which, given the premise, it really should, that would be it. Spawn hands Bulgy a file that explains everything, and now that Al understands his convoluted machinations, i.e. that there's nothing at all to understand about them, he just poofs into nothingness, realizing how pointless his whole existence has been and how much of everybody's time he's wasted. A lot of comics have some sort of subheading. Superman, Man of Steel. Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight. Spawn should be Spawn, a bunch of stuff that happens. So here's this issue. Cog thinks Armageddon is suddenly on its way, and Spawn will need Sam and Twitch sooner than he thought, for whatever reason. There's a massive, unexplainable heat wave only affecting a portion of Manhattan. A street rat finds the freak's paper bag full of necroplasm and keeps it for himself, even though he has a deal with a black market outfit that he's paid in booze and cigarettes and food to bring them information and stolen goods. So he gets stabbed by a member of said outfit. I think his name is Mikey, but I prefer to call him Homicidal Spock, for holding out on the gang. The necroplasm takes over the bum, mixes with a bunch of refuse, and now he's the Heap. How this guy wasn't a Captain Planet villain, I'll never understand. In the same issue that makes a big deal out of the heat wave being a hell-induced phenomenon not caused by mankind's misuse of the environment whatsoever, the Heap is a blatant sermon on the dangers of pollution. Reaching out to the refuse and waste of the city, pulling in all the bubbling contagion, the putrid decay that mankind has littered upon the world. Yeah, that sounds like an exaggeration. All of it? So if Spawn can just teleport this guy into space, or karmic force him into letting his trash consume him, or whatever nonsense McFarlane's going to dream up so Spawn can beat this guy through no fault of his own and probably without even understanding how he did it, if he is all the world's trash, wouldn't that solve a whole bunch of problems? Nothing we learn this issue makes any kind of sense with what we've been given before. First, Cog says if Spawn perishes due to some third force that's now apparently a big threat to Spawn but is just now popping in for a visit, if Spawn perishes, the final battle will commence. So Spawn was chosen to lead Hell's army in the final battle, but if he dies, it happens without him. Now I'm back to asking why he's so special in the first place. It's not just that business of either side could have used him now because he's got both good and evil in him. He's such a big deal, his very existence is staving off inevitable Armageddon. Why? Again, the big mystery continues to be why I'm supposed to care. Second, we're told necroplasm is itself a symbiotic organism that needs a host. But isn't Al himself made of necroplasm? And isn't he his costume's host? I'm confused. Speaking of necroplasm, why not just make the Freak into the heap? Very, very little was done with him in previous issues, and his motivations for suddenly trying to get rid of Spawn were never revealed, but we did know that he wanted necroplasm. I don't see any reason to invent another generic character for this, just use a bad guy you've already got lying around. Freak's whole thing when Alan Moore wrote him was that he went insane because life wasn't the picture-perfect Leave It to Beaver scenario. McFarlane might have really said something interesting turning that guy into a giant trash monster, made up of everything society wants to ignore in pretending civilized, wholesome lives don't include filth of any kind. And of course, Spawn's in the dead zone again fighting Heap at the end, because now that there's a place where he can actually get hurt, he practically lives there. I don't know, maybe he just really likes Stephen King novels. Signed, Captain Logan.